Heart racing, cold but sweaty, Anne bolted upright. What was that? What's happening? Paul gently snuffled, his face partially buried in his pillow. Slowly, Anne slid back under the covers. Eyes wide open, heart pounding, she quickly assessed what rudely awakened her. Arm numb, sweaty, difficulty breathing. Paul? Paul! Huh? What's wrong? I'm not sure. Could you check my pulse? Honey, why are you sweating? Finding the correct spot on her wrist, Paul counted. It's a little fast. Did you have a bad dream? What's going on? I'm not really sure, but something. In his befuddled state, Paul suggested she try to slow her breathing and calm down. It's probably just a bad dream. 30 minutes later, Anne shook Paul. It's not a bad dream. Something's wrong. My chest feels tight and it's hard to breathe. My heart's racing and my left arm feels numb. I'm scared. A couple hours later, the emergency room doctor looked puzzled. All your cardiac tests came back normal except for your elevated blood pressure. Studying Paul and Anne, he inquired, what's going on in your life? Our culture talks about stress like it's a badge of honor. I'm so stressed. Life is stressful. My job carries a lot of stress. My kids stress me out. What would I do without the stress in my life? We nod or chuckle at these comments. But what if this level of stress isn't supposed to be a normal part of life? Well, doing a little online research, there are two kinds of stress, eustress and distress. Eustress, spelled E-U-S-T-R-E-S-S, is a positive stress, and it embodies the following characteristics. It's got focused energy and motivation, short term, it's within our coping capabilities, feels exciting, and improves our thoughts, actions, or performance. Some examples of eustress include getting married, receiving a job promotion, adding a new baby or child to your family, learning a new hobby or skill, moving to a new house or even your first home, or taking a vacation. These activities challenge us to grow, which creates excitement, and the change or stressor eventually levels out. It's short term. The second kind is distress or negative stress, and that looks more like this. Anxiety producing. It could be short or long term. It feels outside of our coping abilities. It decreases performance and it feels unpleasant or painful. Distress, if not addressed, eventually causes physical and mental harm. Dr. Archibald Hart, in his book Adrenaline and Stress, cautions, no one can live in a constant state of emergency without paying for it later on with some form of physical disease. Throughout his book, Dr. Hart documents how living in a continual hyperadrenalized state can lead to a heart attack or other serious physical symptoms. While eustress, that positive stress, improves our life, failing to manage distress or negative stress does harm. Anne's story is mine. And here's how we can learn to lean into eustress and away from distress. First, identify the source of your stress. Is it positive or negative? Often when you and I feel stressed, it is distress. Notice your anxiety. Are your hands shaking for no reason? Are you quick to get angry or frustrated? Are you not sleeping well at night because you can't turn off your brain? Are your thoughts scattered? If you answered yes to any of these questions, I suggest you take a huge step back and evaluate the core issue. When our marriage suffered severe damage, I experienced high negative stress levels. The resulting brain fog, anxiety, irritability, and distrust caused physical symptoms. I felt my body was constantly on high alert. It seemed like I couldn't relax. And then when you added in the suicidal depression, adrenaline coursed through my body like a bullet train. Yes, even though I struggled with depression, my body remained on high alert status. Through counseling and coaching, I discovered the source of this damaging stress and how to manage it. I learned to process each issue and resolve it, thus reducing the adrenaline. Number 2, perform regular reality checks. Just because you can do something or it sounds exciting or interesting doesn't mean you should do it. I call this performing a reality check. My assistant will tell you that often I overload my schedule. When I do, she'll ask, "And when do you think you can do that?" It's her gentle way of pulling me back so I consider my limitations. There are 24 hours in a day, and 8 of those should involve rest. Superhero status makes a great storyline, but it's not a sustainable way to live. Because you and I are human, we have mental, emotional, and physical limitations. We aren't supposed to do or be everything. I know, blasphemy, right? To be the best me, I must function at my best. Therefore, rest, relaxation, focus time, and relational time need to be part of my routine. Letty Cowman, author of Streams in the Desert, relates the story of a wealthy Englishman who explored the deepest jungles of Africa. Being quite wealthy, he traveled with the trappings of British royalty. The Englishman hired a large contingent of strong locals to portage his items through the jungle. On the first day of his grand adventure, he pushed these men at an exhausting pace. The second day, the Africans refused to move. Finally, one young man told this Englishman, who by now was fairly frustrated, that, quote, they had gone too far and too fast the previous day. They had to wait for their souls to catch up to their bodies. Now that's a brilliant reality check. Have you pushed so hard you need to allow your soul to catch up with your body? Number 3, abandon your addiction to adrenaline. Think about how you feel when you're excited about leaving for a vacation. What about when you've accomplished that project at work? Or what happens when a stray dog charges you? These natural responses are adrenaline and cortisol coursing through your body. They are the body's alarm system that God created to help us in fight or flight situations. Normally, as in the case of the charging dog, your body naturally self-limits these responses. Once it's over, it's over. Cortisol release causes an energy boost, heightened alertness, and a burst of increased immunity. These are all great things. However, for the person who constantly feels under attack, desires that hormonal rush, or hasn't learned to process this fight or flight response in a healthy manner, these high hormone levels can cause physical problems and even become addictive. Some healthy ways to process stress include walking, journaling, breathing exercises, listening to music, meditation, just to name a few. To be your best you, learning to process stress well allows you to live life with joy. Matthew 11:28-30 encourages us to walk with Jesus and learn his unforced rhythms of grace, as Eugene Peterson translated in the Message. Dave and I continue to practice several of these stress management strategies that we learned during our recovery process. Where are you today with stress? Do you, like much of our culture, believe living overstressed is normal? It's not. Nor it is the life God calls us to. Chet Scott, in Becoming Built to Lead, describes Eustress this way. Stress is any challenge that promotes growth. More stress than you can handle feels like distress. Less stress than you can manage leads to boredom, stagnation, and complacency. The sweet spot is Eustress, where you are out of the comfort zone reaching, but it feels like you've got a chance. This is how you grow. One person's challenge is another's chill. One person's comfort zone is another's panic. One person's distress is another's eustress. We are all wired uniquely. Our optimal performance zone is outside what is comfortable and toward the edge of what is challenging. Too easy, and we're bored. Too difficult, and we're overwhelmed. Just this side of chaos does not sound like your optimal performance zone, but it is. Chet coaches his clients to become who God created them to be by embracing eustress. He practices effective stress management and is one of the most relaxed people I've ever met. Rather than wearing stress like a badge of honor, let's focus on doing the heart work to live well. We can overcome anything that's distress through leaning into Jesus. He alone is our strength, comfort, and answer to our questions. Being grounded in Jesus produces peace and joy. If you're stuck in the stressed out cycle or need help processing the negative emotions related to discovering your husband's porn addiction, reach out. I promise to listen without judgment and help you discover a better way to live life. Hop on over to KirstenDSamuel.com and click the blue button. Let's talk.